Hello and welcome. This is Paul Sandhu. So today, during my car drive, I just wanted to do a short video, and I wanted to explore the topic of the time that we live in. Okay, Jesus told us, that we should understand the times, right? That the things that happen to the world, like for example, what's going on right now, it takes the majority of the world by surprise, especially when catastrophic events come. But those of us who believe in Him, we've been commanded that, we should watch and pray. And that when we watch and pray, then these things should not overtake us as a thief. Okay? So therefore, we need to have some understanding as to, the timing of where we are at this time in 2020, in April of 2020. Most of the world now is, of course, focused on this coronavirus situation, right? And rightfully so, because it is a major disaster and a significant event that is impacting the whole world like no other event in history since the time of Noah's flood. Okay, going back in history is not till you get to Noah's flood that you find an event that affected the whole world. Okay, and therefore this has led me to think, about the beginning of sorrows, about the time of the tribulation, that, where are we right now? I was of the opinion that, the sorrows have not yet begun, that we are, even at this moment in time, close to the beginning of the tribulation, but not quite there yet. However, I got to thinking again, based on a comment that one of my viewers had left on one of my videos in regards to this very topic of the coronavirus. He had mentioned that the word corona means crown. Okay, it's a Spanish word for crown. And what do we read in Revelation chapter 6 about the rider that sits atop the white horse, which is the first horse that rides after the first seal is opened? Okay, so when the first seal was opened, the rider, the white horse, began to ride, and the rider on it, we are told, was given a crown, and he was given a bow. Okay, so this crown that he was given, when you look at the definition of that word in the original Greek, it does not mean like a crown of gold like a king would wear, but it means more like a wreath. Okay, like the athletes in the Olympic Games, for example, in the ancient times or in the Roman times, when they used to have a great deal of sports, just as they do today, and the winners would be given a wreath, okay, that they put around their head. And incidentally, that is the same word that is used for the crown of thorns that was placed upon Jesus' head. Okay, that's what that word is. It was not that the world at that time was crowning him like the King of Kings. They were actually mocking him because they did not place a crown of gold as they would upon a king's head, but they platted him with the crown of thorns. Okay, which was a mockery. It's a mockery. It was a mockery. Okay, and I began to thinking, okay, one of the things which I had based on the book of Revelation and the information in Matthew 24, 7 and 8, that one of the things that I have always believed is that when the sorrows begin, it's told us there will be wars and rumors of wars. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay, I have always believed that all these things must be happening simultaneously. Okay, that whatever happens, it has to affect the whole world, and these disasters, they must be happening simultaneously. However, lately I've been led to review this one more time. Okay, and that is what it is. God reveals to us certain truths at certain times, and it is our duty, that it is our job to study and to see if perhaps we are being given a better understanding. So now when I read Revelation chapter 6, I see something which I really have never seen before, which is that the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as they're called, okay, they do not necessarily ride together it is more likely that they ride one after the other. Okay, and this is how the information in this world is subtly influences us, you know. Whenever you go into Google, for example, and you do a search on the horsemen of the apocalypse, you will see a picture in which all these 4 horsemen are riding together, okay? They're never shown riding that this is the white horse, then this is the black horse, or the red horse, and then this is the black horse, and this is the pale horse, okay? It is never shown like that in order. They're all shown together. So that kind of puts a subtle understanding in your mind. It conditions your mind to believe certain things that may not be true. That in fact that these horses are all going to ride together at the same time. But when we begin to read Revelation carefully, then it becomes more apparent that as each seal is opened, one horse begins to ride. Okay? Then the second seal is opened and the second horse begins to ride. It's like, you know, let's say in a horse race, for example, where you have these horses that are behind a gate, like, you know, when you have the Kentucky Derby or something, you see they're all behind cage or in a gate. There's a gate that, you know, stops all the horses, and then when the race begins, they open the gate and all the gates are open together. Now let's picture that, you know, one gate opens first, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, that they don't open at the same time. Then what will happen is when the gate of the first horse is open, that horse will take off and the other 3 horses will still be in their pens, okay? And then the second gate opens, the second horse takes off, and then the third and the fourth, like that. And I think that is the correct order that the Bible is teaching us. And why is that significant? Why I think that is significant is that if this coronavirus, as it is, you know, called, it may well be the riding of the first horse, which would mean that the first seal has already been opened, okay? Because one of the most important aspects of these signs that we look for is that it has to be something that affects the whole world. So is this affecting the whole world? Yes, it is. Is it different from anything that has happened in the past? Yes, it is, because we never have, like I said, since the days of Noah, ever seen an event that affected the same world the same way at the same time. Not the whole world, okay? Yes, there have been big events like they say the plague in the Middle East or something might have affected Europe, you know, but it didn't affect, like, you know, Australia or South America or North America or places like that, right? So that was a localized event. So this event is not localized. Now, I'm not debating here whether this disease is even real or if it even exists or not. That is a completely separate subject, okay? In my mind, this is all this thing is not what it is we are being told it is, okay? And it is being used for some very nefarious purposes, essentially to bring in what's called the New World Order. But at the same time, you know, the New World Order is nothing new about it. It is something that God has decreed a long time ago that it must happen, and therefore it will happen, okay? So, you know, the people that are involved in it, they may think that they are in control and they are doing what they're doing, but they do not realize, or some of them may actually realize that they are the puppets of Satan because they worship him, that he is their God, but they may not realize that Satan himself is a puppet of God, okay? So whatever he does, it has to be authorized and it has to be permitted. It has to be allowed by God for it to happen, otherwise it cannot happen. So therefore, if God has allowed this to happen, then it is because it serves the purposes of God, okay? So leaving all that aside, whether the disease itself is real or whether it's deadly or not, whether all this garbage with, you know, wearing masks and, you know, social distancing and everything else, it really is going to save you, okay? Leave all that aside. All I'm talking about is the name of this thing here. It's the crown, okay? And in this, the wreath that these athletes were given, okay? When you look at the pictures, go to Google and picture, like, you know, coronavirus. That's what it kind of looks like. That's one thing, I guess, why it's called a crown virus, is because it looks like a crown. It looks like a wreath, okay? So, is there significance to that? I'm starting to believe that it may be. I'm starting to believe that the tribulation may already have begun, that we may already be in the very early stages of the beginning of sorrows, okay? Now, I don't want to say that I am 100% convinced at this point in time that it has. I'm doing a study on it, which I will, post. I'm actually doing a paper on it, which I will post maybe on my Facebook page and also maybe on my blog, so that people can read it. But maybe I'll do another longer video on this subject. Okay, but this does seem to fit the bill. Okay, the name fits what we are told about this rider, that he was given a crown and then he is given a bow, okay, but not arrows, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. So obviously, because he did not have any arrows, it means he wasn't given arrows. It means that this conquest is not necessarily of a military nature. Okay, it is not something he's going to conquer, but that does not necessarily mean that he's going to conquer militarily. The military part follows. Okay, so that's what we keep in mind, that this is setting the stage for that which is to come, which is a military wars. All the things you read about martial laws and controlled societies and everything else, they're all connected to what's going on right now. But if we look at what the Bible teaches, like the second seal, which is a red horse, and he is given a great sword, and peace is taken from the earth, that they should kill one another. So you can see right now, peace has not yet been taken from the earth. For generally speaking, even in this world, everybody's locked away in their homes for one thing. It's a lockdown, like we are told. So therefore, people are not out there killing each other. Even in the States and stuff, like normal violence, which many cities like Chicago and, LA, etc., that is common there, it is much more subdued right now. Okay? So even like the normal violence that plagues the earth and wars, and even like you don't hear anything about war than Syria or whatever, that people are out killing each other. So this looks like it is the calm before the storm. But there are a great many signs that wars are being brewed right now. Okay, they are being like a witch's brew. They are being manufactured right now. What I hear in the media a lot right now, is a lot of these people, even like, from a governmental level, even from people like Trump himself, they are railing against China, for example. So this is setting the stage for certain events that are going to come, which are potentially going to lead to war. Then on a smaller scale, even like within the U.S., because, like living where I am in Canada, we hear a lot of the U.S. news a lot more than we do European, etc. So you can hear like what's happening right now. A lot of these protests, etc., are being fomented against these lockdowns, and I believe there is a good potential that these could sooner or later, especially if a second wave of lockdowns come, as they keep telling us there'll be another wave of this disease, then there could be a real potential for like violence inside the country as well, okay? Where there could be things like almost like a civil war or something, and not just here. That could be something that might happen worldwide. Like people in India, for example, they're locked down, all these poor people, they have no way of sustaining themselves, same in South Africa, etc. It's only a matter of time before they will rise up and they will turn upon each other and they will kill one another. So what we keep our eyes on, watch and pray, Jesus said, right? What we watch for is the riding of the red horse, the second horse of the apocalypse, which would be war, death, destruction. That's what that would be, okay? That's what we watch for. If these wars break out later this year or sometime next year, if the world really goes, insane, let's say, and violence just begins to fill the land, then you can be sure that the second seal has been opened and the second horseman has been let loose, And once war comes, especially on a big scale, what does it bring with it? What are the other things we are told to watch for? Famines and pestilences. Famines are also being developed. They're being manufactured right now, because the food supply is being cut. It's really like, you know, somebody's taken a knife and cut the jugular of the world's food supply. So food shortages are imminent. They are certain to come, probably even by later this year and early next year, okay, into next year. And if the world does not go back to some type of normal, then the food industry is going to be decimated, and therefore you can be sure that food is going to become a problem. And when food becomes a problem, what does it bring with it? Famines. Okay, so where was I? Just stopped in a drive-through. You know, not allowed to go into restaurants now, so you have to go through a drive-through to grab a cup of coffee. The world has gone insane, my friends. But I suppose the world has always been insane since the time of Adam and Eve leaving the Garden of Eden, and therefore now it's being revealed how insane it really is. Okay, so what I was saying was that if this is the correct interpretation, and I would like your input into this, I would like you folks to, you know, share your thoughts and comments, and you know, share this video with others, so that, you know, they can also participate in a study. That's what we should be doing as a Bible study, is to see if this is the correct interpretation that these horses of Revelation, okay, they're called horsemen, but actually it is the horses that have riders, okay? So the horses of Revelation chapter 6, do they ride all together, or do they ride one after the other? If they ride one after the other, is this a possibility that the first one has already been let loose, let's say? That it is already going forth and conquering? And how is the world being conquered? Oh, did you know the world is being conquered? Oh, yes. Yes, this is why this is so diabolical. That, you know, this plan could never have been hatched by any human being. It has to be from the mind of the serpent, okay? Therefore, it's a plan that's been hatched by a very devil's mind itself. How to go about conquering the world without armies, without firing shots. The world is being conquered economically, okay? The economies of the whole world are being destroyed. Now, this is something which I used to focus on a great deal in the past, by going back about 10 years ago. I used to do like so many videos, and I used to talk to experts about, you know, the coming economic collapse. Because the reason I did that was I studied that from a biblical perspective, in that I knew that the world cannot end as long as the economic system does not collapse. If the economic system continues as it was, if buying and selling and trading, you know, and going to the store and buying your latte, like I said, or, you know, your pair of shoes and everything else, or going to the shop for a car, and all those things, if they continued as they always have, at least in our lifetimes, then the world could not possibly come to an end. So therefore, one of the major pieces of the puzzle that need to fit in was that the economies of the world had to be destroyed. Now, we always pictured, you know, it would be like through the collapse of the dollar, etc., etc. But this is even more brilliant. Really, it is, you know. It's like a very, very smart plan. You destroy the economy of the world by forbidding people to work. That's it. You know, as I'm going to be driving on the highway, they have these big signs there. Stop COVID-19. Stay at home. Man, how that reminds me of so many of these totalitarian like movies, etc., like 1984, with all their slogans. You know, we are all in this together. All this kind of stuff. And people don't see it. They see in Canada, they're doing, you know, these surveys, which may or may not be real, but at least that's what they put. Oh, 80% of the people, they want to, you know, stay at home and be sure that this whole thing is over before they come out. And while you know, the government has promised them, okay, we'll pay you for like 4 months, you know. By 4 months, the whole economy will be destroyed. Half the independent businesses, half or more, will practically be done with, okay? The housing market will be dead. You know, the real estate industry, whatever, hospitality industry, travel, clothing, retail, it'll all be dead. The only thing that'll be left will be food. But then again, I said, you know, there's a major problem coming down with the food supply. Like one of our major, one thing, this is insane, okay? There's this beef processing plant in Alberta, Canada, okay? And that processes, apparently, I didn't know this. When I read this, I was just shocked out of my mind. It apparently processes 40% of our beef. That means 40% of the cows that are slaughtered and cut into beef that goes to the market, it comes out of this one plant. How stupid is that? I mean, Canada's a huge country, I'm telling you. Like, you know, it's a really big country. It takes like 7.5 hours flying time from one end of the country to the other. And you have this one plant that processes 40% of the country's beef supply. And why is that? Why is that, my friends? Because all through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and especially into the 90s and the early 2000s, independent farming has been pretty much destroyed. Okay, where before you would have like, you know, 1,000 farms, and they would each have like 100 head of cattle or something like that, and they all had like a small processing plant in their community that would serve a small area. All that has been destroyed. It's all factory farming now. In Manitoba, you know, they have some of the biggest pork farms in the world, okay? And they supply like China everywhere. So all that stuff is coming, that the food supply is going to be decimated, and therefore even the food business is going to be much shrunken, where you won't have as many choices as we've had in the past, where we used to go into this grocery store and look like the Garden of Eden or something, you know, with fruits from anywhere from Argentina to Spain to Israel to, you know, India and Australia in our grocery stores. All that stuff is going to not be happening anymore, okay? So you will see how the food business will change. So essentially, economies are being destroyed, and then what will happen? What will happen, I believe, is that the banks will be nationalized, your bank accounts will be confiscated, all that will happen, and everybody will become a number for the state. Yeah, you'll be just like another, you'll be given a number or whatever, which will be like the mark of the beast or a prelude to the mark of the beast, where you will be essentially a servant of the state, and you will be told where you will work, you will be told how much credits you'll have, which will allow you to buy how much food, how much you can travel. All these things are in the works. They will come. They will come. But they must happen before the world can end. All right, so the video that I wanted to do today is that at the present time, it seems like that we already might be, that the sorrows may already have begun, which means that if we are facing like the next 20, 30 years or 30 plus years of this unwind, let's say, where this world is destroyed step by step, more and more, like this one here is destroying the economy. If the second horseman, the red one, begins to ride, and red is the color of blood, okay, what's going to happen? What will happen, my friends? Rivers of blood are going to be shed, okay? So that stage will become more destructive. And then what follows after that, after wars, famines, and diseases, that's what we're told, right? The third horseman is where he's got the balances in his hand, and you know, where he says a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, which means food becomes the new currency, scarcity. And where there's war, there's famine, but there's also disease. Yeah. So that right now we are living in a hoax pandemic, a fake pandemic, a plandemic, as many people are calling it, or a scamdemic. But the real will come. Real thing will come. They are again mocking God by, telling you there's this disease that can kill everybody. And God is going to mock them because He's going to send them the real thing. It's going to come. So that's, my friends, I wanted to share with you that you should read your Bible, study it, see how you read it. That is this the logical interpretation that these horses are going to ride one after the other? So this one is riding. We don't know how long it'll take before this whole thing, before they tell us there's going to be a normalcy. They've already been told it's going to be 12 to 18 months for a vaccine, okay, which is a drug, which is a pharmakia. Look at the word I'll do that in my next study, the study of the word pharmakia, sorcery. That's what it is. It puts people in a trance, okay? It is like a witch's brew. That's what the Bible defines it as, sorcery, drugs, okay? So anyway, so they're telling us 12 to 18 months. So is that the time frame of this first horseman? 12 to 18 months or something like that. And after which will come the wars. I can't say for sure. But if we do get to that point where this World War III begins, and it will be World War III, then you can lift up your eyes, or your redemption is drawn even a little bit more closer. All right? And this is not a time for us to be afraid and to be trembling in our boots and hiding in our closets or whatever. Yeah, we should go into our closets and pray, but we don't need to be fearful. We need to be of strong and of good courage. We need to get our houses in order, for our time is very short on this earth. That's what that would mean. All right? So friends, again, do what we are told to do, which is to pray, to fast, to study, to humble ourselves, to, to turn to God with all our hearts and lay aside everything that may be a distraction or something that may be, standing in our way. Let's not allow anything to separate us from knowledge and understanding. And I think God will make these times more and more clear to us. Like I told you before, this is something I've known in my heart for a long time, that none of these things are going to be, we're not going to be surprised about the timing. We will know the timing. We will know where we are. And I think God is revealing to us where we are right now and what to expect next. We'll know. And we should be thankful for that our Father loves us. Just like any father would warn their children, hey, this thing is coming there. Now, go do this. And He will tell us what we need to do. Okay? He will tell us what we need to do. It will become apparent to us. It will not be something that we will have to, do some guesswork. No, we won't. No, we won't. Our Father loves us. He cares for us. For He cast all your cares upon Him, for He careth for you. He really does. So therefore, let's put away all the fear, and let's let the love of God be shed abroad in our hearts so that we can share that love, okay? We can be perfected in love. Okay, that's the purpose for which we have been created. Thank you for listening. This is Paul Sandhu.
And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes.